Hi, Dr. Jones. My name is Morgan Gendhart, and I am a student in your Marine Science 210 Fall 2025 course. And I am going to be sharing with you a little bit about my perspective and my thoughts on the Chasing Coral documentary. And I am going to be looking at my notes a little bit right here, so don't mind that. Okay, but anyways, so the documentary begins with an overview of the importance of the ocean on humans, animals, plants, everything. The ocean is our main source of life here on Earth. And Bevers dives in just to how truly diminished the coral reefs have gotten over time. And it starts with a visual comparison between clips circa 1971 of the bright, vibrant, colorful coral, and then it flips to the coral, those same reefs in the Florida Keys in today's time, and they're completely white skeleton corals now. And corals are called skeletons when they die, when they've been bleached, because they're technically animals. And Dr. Ruth Gates makes sure to distinguish with the audience the difference between a coral being an animal, because it has the polyps on it, but a polyp isn't an animal. It's more of like just an organism. Anyways, so the main goal of the project that Bevers is going on in this documentary is to kind of showcase in real time the effects that humans and our actions have on the coral reefs worldwide. So he took a lot of inspiration from Dr. John Charlie Varon, and Dr. Charlie Varon, they kind of compare him to the godfather of coral knowledge, because he was the first one to really go like dive down underwater and spend a lot of time down there educating himself and then further educating the public on coral and basically just how it works, because it's really cool. So anyways, after they distinguish those facts and make sure we understand just how important these coral reefs are, they get into really the effects that humans have on it. So they go pretty deep into global warming, because that is the number one effect that diminishes the coral and bleaches it. And while global warming doesn't seem like that big of a deal in smaller scales, because it's just like a couple degrees, like 1 or 2 degrees over a few years, but it really adds up, because you can see in one of the comparisons that Bevers talks about, he talks about the difference between these coral reefs in just 6 months, and the amount of color that's been drained in those 6 months is really quite heartbreaking. So anyways, going back to the global warming thing, so while it doesn't seem like that much, they use another awesome comparison to humans and how when we spike in temperature, that's considered a fever and we're considered sick. So it's really just looking at the bigger picture, the entirety of these coral reefs underwater that are supplying so much nutrients and stuff to humans above water, they're sick and they're dying. And so I think it was really awesome, this project they did, because it really helped show and really emphasize the importance and the danger that the reefs are in right now. So anyways, that's the main gist of the project. And really the way they executed it was pretty complex. So they had to work with an underwater photographer. His name was Zach Rago. Zach. He was the younger blonde guy. And he was pretty stoked to help out with this, because Dr. Charlie Varon was kind of an idol to him, and he was kind of who really sparked Zach's interest for studying coral and stuff and being an underwater photographer. So they call him up and they're like, hey, want to work with us? And he, like I said, he's super stoked. And so they all get together, this team of Bevers, Zach, and a couple other guys, and they come up with a game plan of the best way to showcase the real-time effects. And they decide that they're going to try and film a time-lapse underwater in major coral reefs like the Great Barrier Reef in Australia, Hawaii, Bermuda, and Bahamas. So it takes about 2 years overall for them to go around the world to these different reefs and put the cameras underwater. But what makes it even trickier is usually when you're taking these cameras underwater, it's only for a few minutes, whatever. Like, it's not very difficult to get a good clip, a good quality clip. But because they were trying to go to time lapse, they had to hunker these cameras down, and they had them wrapped around these little bubbles so that the cameras wouldn't get ruined underwater that long. And yeah, so they had a lot of trouble with that, and ultimately they had to switch to like leaving it underwater to then just going out every day and taking real-time videos and kind of like meshing them all together, because when they looked back at the original footage from the beginning of their project, the footage was really fuzzy from the footage that had been like in the camera that was stuck underwater. So yeah, they had a lot of problems with that, but ultimately they got some really good results. They got a lot of good data, and they went on to present their findings in like a showcase to Dr. Charlie Barron, Dr. Ruth Gates, and like a bunch of other people that are important in marine biology. And yeah, it was super awesome. Zach, he went up and spoke, and he showed all of his pictures that he took, and he did a great job. Everyone did a great job, and it really, really helped showcase the serious effects of global warming on the coral reefs and how that ultimately affects everything in our world. Okay, so, and then I mentioned the polyps. So the polyps are the little what makes coral an animal, basically. And then it talked about the specifics of the atoll reefs and the barrier reefs. And then it also talked about the acidification of the ocean, and how, I mean, basically the main thing that causes the acidification in the ocean is, once again, humans, with all of our products and sunscreen and this, that, and the other, and everything else, like the aerosols that we spray in the air. And that is what ultimately, like, all those greenhouse gases and those chemicals get trapped in the ocean, and the coral can't handle filtering all of that out. So that's why they get so sick. So yeah, really the main issue at hand is the global warming. Yeah. So, I think I covered pretty much everything. I mentioned the 4 things. Okay, but overall, I really enjoyed the documentary. I am from a beach town myself, so it does hit close to home. I see how murky the waters gets year by year by year, and even when I went to Florida not too long ago, the water was like not as blue as it's marketed to be, as it's supposed to be. So yeah, I would give it a thumbs up. I really enjoyed this documentary, Dr. Jones, and I hope you enjoy my video.